Do not place a trade based on what you're seeing in this video today, because trading is risky and it can cause substantial financial loss. There are so many areas you need to become good at to become a good trader. Emotional mastery, chart reading, trading systems, money and trade management. So this video is just educational only to help you become a much better trader. Hey traders, in this video we're going to have a good market update on the indices. S&P 500, Dow Jones, Russell, Nasdaq. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so let's get straight into the analysis that I want to share with you, and I want to share something with you that I've been noticing time and time again. We're looking at the S&P 500 right now, okay, guys. We're looking at the Russell and we're looking at the S&P, and we're looking at just a blank chart just with the candlesticks on there. With candlesticks up and high close, it's totally up to you which one to use. So we can see by looking at these peaks and troughs. These troughs are going higher, and these peaks are going lower. So, so what we can see here, guys, we can see here that the market is really not doing much. You know what I mean? It's really in this sort of pattern through here, isn't it? And you can see that through there. And there's it's just in the squeezing pattern. Now, the S&P 500 is giving no identification of where it wants to go right now, okay? But looking at that and looking at this one here, let's have a look at the Dow Jones though. Look at the Dow Jones, and now we're looking at the Dow Jones in the result of looking at the peaks and troughs, okay? Not looking at anything else. Now, if you have a look at the Dow Jones, what happens? We had a peak, we had a peak, we have a peak, and we're almost getting another peak here. So sellers are in control. So I'm expecting more downward movement. I really am. I think this market's just having a bit of a breather to the high side, and then I think we're just going to get hammered again, especially based on what we're seeing here on the Dow Jones. So we're seeing that on the Dow Jones. We're getting low peaks, low troughs on the Dow Jones. Have a look at the Russell. Look at the Russell. The Russell is clear night and day, right? Look at it. Low peaks, low peaks, low peaks. Low peak, low peak, low peak. Oh, look at this here. Oh, look, it rejected it. I wonder why. Oh, that's a low peak. You know what I mean? And you have lower trough, and lower trough. So so as you can see, the peaks and troughs are lower, and the market's just rolling over. So, guys, I'm bearish. I really am. I'm bearish. I think this market's going to come down, and then if we do start to get like big downward movement like this, the market's going to say, oh, well, the Fed announcement, which the Fed announcement is coming out tonight. The Fed announcement, you know, it came out, and, you know, and all that sort of stuff. Yada, 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 yada. You know what I mean? So when we're looking at this here, and when we're looking at the Russell, we can see the same thing. That we're getting very bearish signs. And we're at this level of support. So the market is continuing to make lower peaks, lower troughs all the way down, guys. Look at the Nasdaq. Even the Nasdaq is doing it. And look at this here. If I bring up my little trendline tool, you can see here we have a trough, we have a peak, we have a high trough, we have a low peak. Now we're having a lower trough. What do you think is trying to form through here? A lower peak, right? Especially look at this here, right there. Somewhere around about there, anyway. You know what I'm saying? So lower peak, lower peak, lower peak. Now here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. By looking at these indices, if we do start to break up and make a higher peak, then we're going to run for new highs. Okay, that's just it. If we do start to make that, especially obviously on the Russell, if the market does open up and scream back up the top here, which I don't think is going to happen, because you see time and time again when this starts to happen, you know, you tend to start to get some, especially several lower peaks and several lower troughs. I don't think it's ever happened on this chart. Let's actually go back here. This is the daily chart on the Russell, and let's actually just go through this here. So we had a high peak, high trough, high peak, high trough, high peak. We had a low trough through here, came up, and look at this here. High trough, low peak, lower trough, lower peak. Oh look, wham! Out of nowhere. Oh my goodness, big down day. Ah. You know what I mean? Why though? The market was making low peaks, low troughs already. You know what I mean? Forget the moving averages. Then it came down, made another low trough, came up, made another low peak, came down, made another low trough, and then it went sideways for a while, right? And they came back up, and then it broke back down, made a lower trough, made a lower peak, came back down, and it broke back up. And you can see it broke back down. And what's happening right now? We had a high trough, double top, double bottom, sideways action. We broke down, we broke straight back up here. We continued up sideways through there. So there you go, guys. The only time in history of the last couple of years that we actually started forming lower peaks, lower troughs, several in a row, was through here on the Russell. See that there? So if we go to the Dow Jones, and you see the Dow Jones, you can see what's happening here on the Dow Jones, and you can see same thing as well too. Let's actually go back in time. Let's see what we can see here back in time. And the Dow Jones, guys, hasn't actually been making a lot of lower peaks, lower troughs. Let's actually see if we can bring this up to, say, a 2-day chart. How far does that go back? It goes back to, what about a 3-day chart? It goes back to 2010. So 2010, you can see there, if we go to a 4-day chart, would it actually bring us up to, yeah, almost back to this there. So this is a 4-day chart. This is what happened. This is what's happening every 4 days. And obviously, but it's also going to show the peaks and troughs as well too. We just go back to a 3-day chart here, and the market's running up, and now look what's happening. Lower peaks, lower troughs, lower peaks, lower troughs. We're in some trouble, guys. So I'm telling you now, I'm bearish. I think this market's going to start coming down. If you look at it right now and you look at the daily chart, this is the daily chart here, squeezed up, making lower peaks, lower troughs. It's just struggling where it is right now. I'm expecting a downward movement. That's what I do see on the overall indices, especially the S&P 500 is the only one that's not saying, no, I'm not quite sure, you know. The Dow Jones 30 is that. The Dow Jones 30 is saying down. Russell is saying down. Nasdaq is saying down. So unless we start to break up and break these peaks up the top here, so the Russell would be breaking this peak here, or the Nasdaq, the Russell breaking this peak here, and also the Dow Jones breaking this peak here, then we are starting to go back into the bull camp. From now, guys, we are bearish. So any rallies here would be likely to be sold into, and then down we go. All right, guys, remember, success can be yours if you go claim. So step up, take massive action, and face your fears today.